Welcome to another episode of AI After Hours. Each month, we cut through the AI hype, answering your top questions and calling bullshit on the headlines that we think don't make any sense. Join us for a monthly roundup of AI news and real insights from what's true and what's not in the world of artificial intelligence. If you have a question or a topic, email us and join the conversation. Send us an email at support@aicareerboost.com. So let's dive into the world of AI together.
I'm your co-host, Yuying Chen-Wynn, a product and technology executive with extensive experience in both AI and education. So I'm currently leading applied AI at Peak 6 and focused on everything generative AI and actually understanding what it means to meaningfully leverage AI into your business. And I love talking about AI, especially with my co-host.
Thanks, Yuying. My name is Polly Allen, and I've been a product and tech leader and executive for over 20 years in the tech space. Previously, I was a principal product manager at Alexa AI, where I launched the very first generative AI answers on Alexa. Now I'm the founder of AI Career Boost, where I spend my time helping product managers navigate the world of AI and transition into AI leadership roles. I'm also a Top 100 Women of the Future winner. I also really love talking about AI, especially with Yuying, and especially after hours. It is after hours, right, Yuying? It's time for our drinks.
It's after
What are you
hours
drinking tonight?
somewhere. uh,
Right.
yeah, I'm trying out a little Tempranillo today, so it's kind of a lighter, I think, for the afternoon. It's a young wine, but it's
There we
working on
go.
it.
Excellent.
What are
I'm
you
still in the
drinking?
festive holiday mode. I've still got the vodka cran going on, and so it was like
Ah,
on brand
good.
color wise and festive.
Excellent, excellent. All right. This is the part where we go into our monthly news roundup. Now, January was a bit of a slow month, so I got a little bit of January as well, kind of a top from December. So we're all caught up. All right. You
Relatively
ready for
slow,
this?
right? It feels like
Yeah, relative to November and December, it's kind of like, wow, everybody's sleeping and please chill because there's way too much news in AI in November and December.
exactly.
Okay, so the first one, and really this is the main one that I'm keying off of in January. The Times sues OpenAI and Microsoft over OpenAI's use of copyrighted work. Polly, your reaction to that one? That it
Yeah, so
literally sums it up right there.
it was a huge bomb, it felt like, over the holidays, right? It was still in late December. And this, of course, people have been waiting for the first big copyright lawsuit to come out because they know that they're using content. This felt like a little bit of a what's that word? The like a tempest in a teapot to me because it turned out that OpenAI has been actually in negotiations with the Times to like pay them money for the content. So it's kind of strange because I think the narrative in the press has been, oh, OpenAI's out to just to steal everyone's content and use it for free. They did do that in previous versions, but they have been negotiating the fair use of this content with especially the big publishers. I think the thing to keep in mind is it's not an open AI's best interest for places like the Times to go out of business, right? If they use the news and everyone uses OpenAI instead of going to those websites and disrupts their business model, who's going to actually report the news in the first place, right? So it's in OpenAI's interest and all of the LLM providers' interest to keep that ecosystem healthy. So I think that's why, while they're experimenting and proving out if this works, they were definitely, using some of the content without being really forthright with the publishers. I think they knew all along they were going to have to cut deals. So
Well,
it seems
here's the
strange to me.
thing. It's strange to me that Times sued them at this time. So OpenAI already did a deal with Associated Press, right? So they're
Yeah.
obviously working on it, and we read into it that they're negotiating in the middle of it. The Times decides to sue them. So I feel like there's a little bit of PR happening there. It is getting figured out. There's already an example. I'm like, okay, what is up with that? All right.
Yeah, it seemed like it was either crossed wires or like different departments at the Times. One was doing deals and the other decided to move forward with a lawsuit, or it was explicitly like a PR move, to like some kind of test play. But
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely, a lot of people are like, oh, this is going to be this big lawsuit that's going to, define how copyright things get settled, and I'm like, I don't think it'll ever get to court.
Yeah, yeah. The second one, in terms of headlines, I'm going to have to bring it back to December. January is a slow month. Um, so, Gemini, the Google pushed kind of this release, I felt like a little bit early just to hit December. So, I'm going to count it as January. The Gemini model, we saw this super cool video on YouTube that seems like it can just watch a video and then talk about it intelligently and change modes and looked amazing. I tried it. I'm talking to them. I have my own opinion. So, Polly, I want to know,
Oh,
what do
I
you
still
think?
want to know your
Oh,
opinion
what?
first.
What? No, 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 no. This is it's going to be a suspenseful review. No. All right. What did you think of the video they released? And then, if you got a chance to play with it, Gemini, are they? Is Google finally in the race?
Great question. And I do also want to talk about the reaction because I've got thoughts. I was frustrated. Gemini seemed really, really cool. And it is on the benchmarks that are out there, a better model than GPT-4. And of course, people will come out and they'll put out GPT-5 soon, and there's going to be this arms race. But honestly, one of the frustrating things about the reaction was like that kind of got lost in the mix. That it was like, hey, on all the publicly available ways that we measure models, this is a really great model. This is comparable. And playing around with it, I've been really impressed. So I really feel like the bigger, bullshit part of it was how everybody reacted. That it was like, oh, the demo wasn't real. It was this faked demo. When I looked at the developer documentation on how they do these things, there were sort of explanations of like, hey, how you can do the closest thing to what we did in our demo. If that's what they had released, it would have been so underwhelming, right? You look at this developer documentation, and it's not because the model isn't impressive. It's just like that way of presenting it, that hyper real way of presenting it, is not very sexy. So really, if they're guilty of anything, Google just marketed a little too close to the sun, right? They marketed a little too hard for their own good, but they're painting a picture of kind of where the model is going. Doesn't OpenAI do that in every single one of their demos, right? They demoed the taking a picture of a website, and it could, way before that multimodal capability was available to the public. So it's like, it was really confusing to me that Google got slammed so hard over the marketing, when in fact, I think they are back in the race. And I just think that the big news loves to hate on Google and loves an underdog.
Yeah.
How
So,
about you? Are you wildly different from me, or?
not, I wouldn't say not wildly. They're definitely back in the race now. Like the preview video they show was all multimodal, and then I'm focused on our own use cases. We really don't have a lot of use for multimodal. I'm like, that's super cool, but okay,
Right.
I'm in financial services. What am I going to do with that? So I played with just the text part, and I was still super impressed. Right, so
Yeah.
they are definitely up there. And then I was all getting ready to be super glowing about the text piece, and then that it's finally doing well because I compare them all the time, and I found this super silly when I have, as part of my own little benchmark test, I have one question that says, how many appendages does a cat have? And I was like, Gemini's awesome. And until I put this one in, and they're like, well, a cat has 18 appendages. And it gave me this super scientific explanation about appendages, which included the whiskers. And I was just like, wait, what now? So,
Yeah, I was trying it with multimodal use cases where I actually uploaded like handwritten answers to math assignments. It's one of the examples that they give. And I was like,
right.
okay, let's try some of these.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I hadn't written out an equation, like expanded it all the way. And it was like, this is wrong. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, no,
Yeah.
my grade 4 math isn't as strong as I thought.
Yeah.
So,
I I think it's there. It's definitely in the race. I think people got so used to like trashing on Google for this that it was just
yeah.
probably
And
more
this
fun to
isn't
do
even
it.
their pro model, right? They're releasing the more powerful model
I'm highly
2024.
curious
So,
about the is it the Nano, the one that's like on mobile? That would be.
yes.
I
Yeah.
know none of my
Three
use
different
case
versions.
at all, but still, I want to play with it. Okay, so that was a big one, but just the last one was just kind of a recap. Do you realize it's only been 1 year since ChatGPT came out? So I
That
mean,
is
I didn't
mind-blowing.
look at their thing, but it's just that headline. I'm like, wait, it's only been 1 year. I kind of feel like I don't remember my world before this. What was I doing before? How did I get information? How did I get anything done before this? Um,
It's
yeah.
mind blowing. And it's mind blowing to me that, like, I felt like my world changed when I started hearing people that I'm like socially related to, not through work, like talk about it at parties. And that kind of brought it home for me. And that was probably like mid year, that started happening more and more, that just the general public is like aware of this, interested in it. Super, super cool. In sort of my circles, a lot of people had been already kind of geeking out about AI stuff already. So like it didn't feel like that it pivoted 60 degrees or 6 degrees about which kind of AI we're geeking out about. And then to realize, wow, even amongst the people who are talking about it, it's such a small set of the population and still heavily North America focused, and like the rest of the world has yet to catch on. We're so early in this. It's hard to remember that sometimes.
Yeah, it's just amazing when I'm reminded that it's only been a year. But sometimes I'm like, I have to remind myself that I was in college when Netscape came out. I'm like dating myself a little
I
bit.
remember
Nobody,
Bonsai Buddy.
nobody look up that year and like try to reverse engineer my age. No, I actually asked ChatGPT to try to reverse engineer someone's age because I was like, I wonder how old. Anyway,
Oh,
okay, yeah,
I
you
would love
use
to, I
case.
think you could do it with that. You could do it with the ICQ messenger sound. See if they recognize it, if they know what it is.
Yeah.
Back
Okay.
in the day.
So that I think in terms of overall January was a slow month. There's other things. So I kind of look for big breakthroughs or model changes or changes in the market dynamics. So it does look like AI still took a little bit of a break for Christmas ish. But that wraps it up for January. We're into our second year with
That's
generative
right.
AI.
Exactly. That may be the only AI pause we're getting, unfortunately.
Whew. So
So buckle up for
this is an
2024.
this is a slow start. We get a little bit room, then we're just gonna go whoop. All right, everything just changed again.
Fantastic. Well, I think we're ready for moving on to top questions. So I teach a lot of courses for folks who are interested in AI and product management specifically. And I wanted to bring up some of the top questions that I'm getting asked in a lot of classes or seeing online. So whether it's in my courses, on Reddit, I like to go down rabbit holes. So one of the top questions I'm seeing online these days over and over is about, people are intensely curious about LLM hallucination. And I get asked over and over, how do I stop it? Basically the one thing that's keeping a lot of people from using LLMs for a broader set of use cases is their unreliability in terms of hallucinations. So I wanted to get your take, Yuying. Are we going to solve it? Are we close? What do you think?
Uh, we're pretty close for a lot of
Okay.
use cases. So, number one, I love the word hallucinations. It just kind of makes it bigger and also makes it more fun. The thing I always start with, do you remember what this was designed for? This is designed to imitate humans. We make shit up all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So, one, I'm like, it's not a bad thing. Sometimes think about if those things can be used to your advantage in a use case. It's kind of looking at a different thing. But secondly, there's a
It's part of the creativity. You wouldn't
yeah,
get that creativity
yeah,
without that
yeah,
ability to
exactly.
kind of
And
lateral thinking, like
some of the most fun we
behavior.
have is with the hallucinations.
Right.
But there's a lot of techniques right now for groundings, right? So OpenAI has the seed. I was just using that for. There are certain functions I wanted to be pretty predictable and grounded. There's ways to ground it in specific information, whether it's your own or kind of real time access. So there's all these techniques. It's not, but just the models themselves actually are getting far, far better. It is a known problem. And as fast as they're solving everything, whatever hallucinations you find today, try it tomorrow. Try it next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very, very quickly getting solved.
And as far as businesses who are saying, well, our value proposition is we're going to solve hallucinations, I'm a little bit like, I think think the big guys are on this. Are you the one to do it, or is OpenAI going to solve it first?
Yeah.
Sam Altman has just come out saying when GPT-5 is released soon, it will be capable of doing lots more things. He hasn't specified what, but lots more. And assuming it's around reasoning, but also like vastly mitigating hallucinations, right? So that'll be a
Yeah.
big focus for all of them, because that's the biggest thing, I think, preventing it from really breaking through in enterprise use cases, aside from like security and privacy and a lot of the
Yeah.
engineering. There's a lot of reasons.
I
It's
think I
taking a
just
while.
mostly want to control the hallucinations. I'm like, now, please hallucinate. Be funny. Be random. But right now, can you just like, you know, keep it straight and narrow, please? That's what I want.
Setting up the parameters. Yeah, I totally agree. It's interesting. I've been talking to some of the bigger integrators who are working with big companies, and some of them are saying that with the very latest model, so like GPT-4,
Mm.
and using retrieval augmented generation, where they
Yeah.
are actually
Doing a lot of
dynamically
that.
writing the prompt. A lot of the retrieval piece is becoming a bigger part in the engineering, where you're using like a search in the back end to write the prompt and keep that grounded. That they're getting really close to 0% hallucinations. But then as soon as they're like want to do it cheaper or faster using open source models, it's harder to replicate, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
think it's
exactly.
it's again just a matter of time. Open source is moving so quickly, so and we'll see. They hadn't at the time had a chance to try out the new Mistral models that came out and
Mm.
are blowing everyone away. So
Yeah, yeah, we're trying mixed draw too.
oh, awesome. Exactly. I think everyone wants to get a chance to do that. The hard part is I think it depends on like the industry or your use case. So if one person's able to do it, that doesn't mean everyone will be able to do it using the same technique.
Yeah, I
That's
mean
the
that's
tough
a
part.
for certain things. I mean, we're in financial services. Certain things you cannot allow anything. So I don't leave it to the LLM, right? I got pretty
Yeah.
clear on, you know what? You're not touching numbers. It's gonna come from somewhere else. You're getting the words to talk around it. Yeah. So there's a smarts you can do. It's pretty close. And if you want to do it right now, you gotta just there's a whole bunch of technique that can control it.
And there's a really great paper that came out that was basically a compendium of all the hallucination detection or hallucination prevention techniques that are out there, from prompt
Oh,
engineering to retrieval and everything. We'll include it in the show notes.
I was like, you
It's
gotta
a
send me.
deep,
You gotta send me so I don't
yeah,
have to find it
but
out
it's
on
it's
myself.
a fantastic paper, and it's a great overview of everything that people are trying. So
Awesome.
very cool. Another big question I get a lot is everything about OpenAI's new GPT store. So that launched this month, delayed since November, December. No,
Sorry.
no previews,
I made a
Yuying,
face.
of what
I
you
made a
think.
face.
You are bad at this with poker.
There's a
But turns
reason why
out,
I'm really bad at poker. Blackjack. I could do the math. It's good.
so it was announced, big acclaim, everyone's freaking out, and people ask me, should I be launching on something on the GPT store? Like what? Why would I do it? What's the advantage of it? Your take?
My take, there's no revenue share model unless I know how that works. I am I just making sure that OpenAI gets all the traffic and then they become the new hub of the internet without
Yeah.
knowing what I get out of it at all. So as an actual business, no. If I had some random idea that I just want to see if it will hit, which I think even right now it's difficult to break through the noise, um, maybe. That's truly where I'm at. And then my second one is there was plugins. So how I feel like it kind of just switched over. And I'm still concerned about the security issue that they had before, which I'm sure they fixed. But I'm,
I
once
don't, they haven't
once
said they
burned,
have.
I'm usually like, once burned, I'm gonna wait 6 months. Is
Yeah,
so that's where I'm
exactly.
at.
I'm in this. I mean, I'm in the same place. People have asked like, why would I put something up on the GPT store, right? GPT is really easy to create. That's awesome, and it's got this cool wizard that like non-technical builders really enjoy for building and refining a prompt. That's easier than maybe making a really complicated prompt. You can add files to it and ask questions of your own files. But you could have done most of that other than the file piece, and had a prompt and sent it to someone else and be like, hey, use this prompt, paste this into your version of GPT-4. before. So now you can send them a link to your bot or put it on the GPT store. But like there's no enhanced functionality other than locking you into OpenAI instead of you going to try that prompt on Bard or some other LLM. So it's to OpenAI's advantage in that case. And then putting it out in the store, the only advantage, because there isn't a monetization model yet, would be, yeah, to test something to see if the market likes it. But if they do like it, anybody can just copy it.
Yeah, and you don't
And
know how to break through. There's no SEO model. Like I don't like you're like, okay, there's already a huge ton on there. If I just make one that I think is
yeah,
super innovative, how do I even get it to show up, right? Well, we don't
right.
know.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
There's no way to protect your idea. There's no way to make it visible. It just feels very early. And like they wanted to stake their claim as like, we have a store. Anybody else who's making a store, because there's tons, you know, back off. It's ours. We're going to do this. So I guess that was the point for OpenAI. But in terms of your own development projects, I would be more tempted to make a private GPT if you want to mock up something quick and easy, share it with your users or target users directly. I don't see much benefit from putting on the store other than you might have people out there who discover it and try to hack it. And apparently they're pretty
Yeah.
easy to hack to either leak the prompts or leak the data. So what's the advantage, right, for all those risks? But we'll see. It has a lot of potential, of course, right? And version 0 of everything always improves. But I would say today, there's not a lot of benefit for putting things out on the store.
I would agree.
I think that's why there's not a lot that aren't really terrible there.
Yeah, I'm not even motivated to try them.
Yeah. The it's worth trying out as a first attempt at retrieval to see if that fits your
Okay.
use
Yeah,
case.
I'm like tenth try in, so it's
Yeah.
very limited. At first, I'm like, oh, all right, I don't have to deal with it yet. No, I'm like, okay, what
Quick
20
and easy
files and
progress.
only this is. I'm like, okay, I need more than that for this to be useful.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of not very useful GPTs out there for a long time. And I've yet to see one that I'm like, oh, this is 10x better. And it's enough for me to switch from whatever I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. Another question I'm getting a lot of is about LLM answer quality. So everyone has these questions about how do I measure the answer quality, particularly in engineering. We're used to having responses from the system that we can say, if these responses don't work, the system is broken, right? If I don't get an acknowledgement that I logged in, something's broken in the system, stop the build, don't deploy this, right? There's a lot of systems in continuous deployment where people are taking it for granted that the system has this like deterministic behavior, behaves in the same way, so that if someone makes a change, they'll know they broke something else somewhere else in the system and everything gets stopped. They can go find the problem before it ends up in production, right? So on that engineering side, a lot of folks are asking, how do we do that with LLMs and trying to combine that with the traditional engineering approach of testing and automated testing? You can think of it too, like a lot of the times if the system was always giving a certain answer for a certain question, you could test, hey, does it give this answer every time I ask this question? But with an LLM, it might phrase it differently, and the question is still correct. The answer is still correct, right? So in that really dynamic environment of answers, like how do we measure whether the answers coming out of this thing are good or bad, other than having humans check the answers, or some people have proposed having LLMs check the answers to see if they're correct. I don't know if you've run into this yet, Yuying, in the projects you're working on.
I have, and I know there's open source projects for evaluation that essentially uses the LLM to kind of evaluate the answers, and there's a script that loops through, etc. And I haven't done it. So the first piece I'm kind of like right now, if you're implementing anything with LLMs, I kind of don't put in this heavy duty thing in because everything's changing every week. Whatever I put into test now, I'm probably gonna have to rewrite it next week, right? So I'm like, whatever. Um,
Yeah.
so I literally, what I do right now, I have a script that will just take in however many questions I have in Excel and just keep spitting out answers from, and I can scan. So all I'm looking for is, did it just go completely sideways? That's really kind of just the level I'm looking, and I think that's about enough right now because I know, we're on the front edge of this. I'm just looking for,
Yeah.
things didn't go upside down. The quality of answers, the time for that is not here. I think that for certain numbers are super important. I'm not even putting it in the LLM, right? So I'm just ensuring that separately. So yeah, that's where I am on this. I know it's a problem. I'm like, you're over worrying right now.
Yeah, we're so not ready to put this in production at scale where we're releasing new changes every day and that kind of thing, right? That's when you need a lot of engineering infrastructure around it. Yeah, and I think it's one of the reasons that enterprise is kind of still, trying to put out these really, world changing use cases with LLMs. It's because of engineering problems like this. We're like, was the old engineering way of thinking about it the right way, or do we need to
Yeah, I
rethink
don't
how
think
we
it
go
goes
about
down there.
testing?
Here's the thing, though. If something wasn't right, it is so fast to change. So I like just roll it out. People are like, oh, it's doing this. I'm like, oh, really? Let me look at it. All right, updated. Like, so
Yeah.
I much rather work that way because there are things you're like, ah, oh, that's terrible. Users don't care. They're like, oh, it's fine. It's close enough. So that's really kind of I know I'm like
Until it's
super
their like bank
iterative
account
agile
balance.
right now. Yeah, I'm like I have
Yeah.
zero functionality release with that. I'm like maybe I'll put in the weather
Yeah. So I
because
think the answer is you either like limit your use cases to things that don't require that kind of robustness, right? Um, the piece that I really took from my work at Alexa was that we had principles around always making sure we did have some kind of human evaluation at some point, just to kind of reground what we were doing. You can kind of start using these proxies of having an LLM grade it, or there's a lot of data science metrics to see if answers are right. We did a lot of work up front to find like automated metrics and make sure we believed they correlated to like human evaluation. And then you'd let the team run with the automated metrics. But before it launches, you need to recheck it with human evaluation again. Like taking humans out of the loop with this technology, it's too early at least to without at least having some final checks before things go live for sure.
yeah. I mean that's why we're going internal use case first, and I have a super short feedback and fix loop.
Yeah,
Right? You're like, oh,
yeah,
what? Oh, okay, interesting. All right, let's control for that.
that's
Off
great.
we go. Yeah.
And full transparency with people about what they're using and why things might go wrong. So very cool. I think it's
Yeah, I mean, with
a
positioning
great.
the everything like, look, this is new. Come along with us on this journey. It's going to be fun and interesting. And here's a Slack channel. Give us feedback.
Lots of emojis.
Woo! Yeah. Oh, oh, trust me, I have emojis in my LLM app.
Awesome. I think we're on to the next section.
Ooh, all right. Oh, my favorite segment. I mean, I'm going to say that about all of them, but this is truly my favorite segment, BS and AI. Not that we're making BS in AI, we're cutting through the BS in AI. Just clarifying, because,
We're not trying to
okay.
BS you. We're trying to un-BS
Maybe
you.
we are. Let's see if you can tell. No, okay. All right. So BS and AI is for me and Polly to cut through. So obviously we have different backgrounds in AI, but so sometimes the headlines and the anecdotes really kind of annoy us because there is so much bullshit and a lot of it clickbaity and
Yeah.
not real. But yeah, so that is what we're doing. Ugh, it's so hard to pick. All right, my first one. Okay, this was a this is I believe this is still active. The FTC is offering $25,000 prize for detecting AI enabled voice cloning. So that title says exactly what it is. I'm just like, I know Polly will understand why. Like, why would you pick that as a bullshit? That sounds like totally legit and not sensationalized or anything. So, Polly, what do you think?
Well, it just anything to do with the detection stuff. I think it annoys me because I still see, particularly in schools, teachers still using these supposed AI content detectors to tell if students are cheating or not. And they're so unreliable and they should not be used that way at all. Like it's just really, really frustrating. And if you understand how these things work, that they're, you know, designed to very, very closely mimic the real world, and there's no like ability to like put a secret character in every third line or something, right? There's some cool tricks I've seen teachers doing, having white text in the description of the problem, and if you include the word, you have to include the word SpongeBob and giraffe or something, so they know if they include those words, right? These are kind of like hacks around the system, but the technology approach to the AI detection, I'm sorry, unless there's some big scientific advancement, like basically we're kind of still stuck. We're at the same place we were a year ago when people were talking about it and everyone went, yeah, there's absolutely no idea how we do that. So I understand. Like, I don't think the prize is bullshit. I'm sure there's a prize.
Yes, there
I'm
it's
sure
an
the
actual thing.
researchers do
That part
it, but
is actual. Yeah. So
yeah,
my thing is, yes, number one, it's actually really hard, which is why most of the big companies don't even have initiative focused on this. Most of the approaches are kind of like watermarking, etc. But it's very difficult for it to keep with manipulation. I mean, voice is just sound waves. And then my second one is, I'm like, if you truly can solve this, 25K, really? Seriously?
you're right. That's true. It's kind of like the Netflix.
I'm like,
That's like nothing.
25K? It was gonna like go to Mars. 25K. I'm like, okay, well.
You're right. So it's like actually turning out to be this could potentially be like humanity's biggest problem in a year, like democracy's biggest problem. Yeah,
Here's a nickel.
25K is
That's
a little light.
so that's my two piece on that.
We're hoping some high school students are gonna spend a weekend solving that and figure it out and be really
I don't
happy.
know. I gotta ask my kids. Is 25K enough to motivate you? I mean, they're probably like, well, my son's probably like, if it's Chipotle gift card, I'm all in. Okay.
Exactly. It sounds like a lot. I don't mean to poo poo on 25K, but really, if you know what it
I mean,
costs to do research, it's like that's not a lot. Yeah,
that's not enough for the compute costs if you were actually trying to do this. Okay.
exactly.
Okay, the second one. I will.
Remember, you're not supposed to say first and second, because
Oh,
you can take that
okay.
order.
All right. The next bullshit. Boy, I had a hard time with this one. Okay. Uh, so this was a go. What is it? This headline was really really long. This was, I believe, an editorial on the Washington Post about how the Microsoft AI being image generator. So this is a image generation thing. So
Yeah.
I believe which is Dolly behind it. Microsoft says its AI is safe, so why does it keep slashing people's throats?
What? I didn't see this one at all. You got to give
Oh
me more
my
context.
God! Yeah. Oh my goodness! And it's the whole thing. There's an editorial, and it's just very. So the image creator, AI image creator. So they're embedding it into one of the image software that comes with the OS, which I forget which one is called. With the generation, is
Windows. No,
making
just kidding.
extremely. It is an extremely violent and disturbing images, and the ones they're talking about is decapitations and like just blood coming out of the throats and all of this stuff. And they go, despite Microsoft's claims of safety, and they have all this discussion about flagging the issue to Microsoft, and there's this group that's focused on trying to make sure AI generation is safe, that's testing and retesting, and they fix and then the whole point is the company's response to the issue has been inadequate, and how dare Microsoft just blame it on bad people using technology, etc.
Yeah.
Okay, so here I gotta tell you about. I'm like, what? Really? I can't imagine that it doesn't have safeguards and etc.
Right.
Well, actually, I'm gonna ask you what you think about this before I do the reveal because I dug in like all
Okay.
the way
I'm good.
in.
I'm glad. Okay.
Okay.
They have so many teams at all these big tech companies that do nothing but think, oh, what bad PR headline could come out about this? Let's make a big list of everything that might be offensive, and what are we going to do about it? And so they've tested for this. There's for sure some kind of guardrails. Did someone find a way to circumvent them? I'm sure they did, and they would fix it. Like it's just funny that they'll pile on to someone like Microsoft or Google, but there's been like no attention paid to the fact that the custom GPTs are like super leaky and are easy to hack. Like you could totally steal someone's data. Now, we won't talk
Yeah.
about that, about OpenAI, but they'll just jump on Microsoft if they're like by hook or by crook able to get around their guardrails. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
annoying.
you are so correct about what is actually happening. So, when of course they initially flag the issues,
Yeah.
they are full teams that are like, okay, we're fixing it, etc. And then there's this group that focuses on, okay, let me try to see circumvented. And they'd be like, oh, I just changed the prompt this way, and then I circumvented. Of course, they don't tell you what the actual prompts are. They don't actually show you the actual image either. So everything's blurred out. You're like, oh my god, it's awful. It's blurred out. We can't tell you what it is. Scary. The thing, you truly read it through, you realize what they're doing in the prompting is trying to get it to apply to images of people and around the throats with like things like um, ketchup,
Ribbon.
corn
Yeah.
syrup, anatomically correct, show like. So you can imagine the descriptions you can give an image that
Yeah.
doesn't sound like anything unsafe. And if you
Yes.
manage to layer it, I'm just thinking like Hollywood special effects, right? If you know
Exactly.
what goes into any of those things,
And now you're
and
not allowed to do Hollywood special effects like that in the AI generation stuff because it's too close to I
but my
know.
favorite
And
is
like
of course that it's like no Microsoft response is terrible because they're saying you can't just put all the responsibility on the bad people who were using the tech. I'm like, that is not what is happening.
and there's probably not even what they said too. I know all of those PR things are like, please tell us the issue. We're working reactively on anything you can come up with. But in the meantime, hey, aren't you just really working adversarially trying to trick the AI into doing things that are bad? Don't do that, and we will do our attempt to control it. But can you imagine your job being like, hey, before we launch this, could you please think of anything anyone in the world could possibly do that's bad with this? Just like
I,
spend some time on the internet and make sure nothing bad from the internet it gets into the training data. And also, can you make sure it doesn't do anything bad
yeah,
by some nebulous definition of bad?
yeah,
So it's a huge job they're taking on, and they take it seriously. And I just think it's easy. It's an easy like dunk on
yeah.
on the technology companies that the media companies love to
Yeah, I
take.
mean,
It's just
there's a
again,
lot of this like clickbaity stuff about AI being unsafe, but I had to pull this one out because it was the Washington Post, and I'm just like, come on, you're better than this.
totally.
You're making me pay for this, so
You're
you're
better than
better
this.
than this. Sorry.
And
Okay.
what really drives me nuts about it is that it actually prevents people from trying stuff out. So like people won't try something if they think it's immoral or they think it's it's something bad. So these big headlines actually do have negative consequences because the people who believe them are more likely to be more vulnerable populations, and they're the people that this technology could really help get ahead in work scenarios and stuff if they adopt it early. And those are the same people who are going to be like, "Oh no, I heard I might accidentally get pictures of decapitated people." So not accidentally.
Yeah.
You
I
had to
mean,
go to
it's
the
just yeah.
ninth degree in imagination.
It doesn't even
So
say like
yeah,
it's
it's
like
like whack a mole.
Microsoft says its AI is safe, so why does it keep slashing people's throats? Like you're just like, oh my god, it's
Yeah,
running
that's
around like trying to kill people. I'm like,
it's yeah. Microsoft is literally slashing people's human beings' throats.
so okay.
Ah,
So obviously this is why we have the BS section because like Polly and I are like, oh, we're so riled up. Anyway,
I
and that
I have a BS in AI. I'd like to call out too. Could I? Can I get your opinion on one too? This drives me nuts.
all right.
This may get a little conspiracy theory. The Sam Altman dust up last fall when he got fired and then rehired, and then the subsequent it must have been about this nearly sentient model called Q Star. Do you remember briefly that came out afterwards that it was like, oh, I think it was about this. Oh, and he's not being careful enough with Q Star. What do you think? Because man, it made me so mad.
I heard a different one that's even worse.
What did you hear?
That Sam Altman was having sex with the AI.
What? You didn't really hear that.
I did. Okay,
No.
and it was Sam Altman who said it because so
Was it an AI
he
avatar generated of him saying it? A deep fake?
no he did an interview with Trevor Noah. He did an interview with Trevor
Okay.
Noah after this. Go
Yeah.
listen to it. I was just like, what now? um, yeah. No. That's all my. I don't even know what to say about he's not careful enough with a sentient AI. And I'm like, okay, number one, what exactly is a sentient AI? And why is it so dangerous?
Yeah.
Um, yes, I'm just sorry.
I
I
want to know
don't
what he
have
said on Trevor
words.
Noah. What did he say on Trevor Noah?
That was like one of the. That was the one oh no, no, no! That I think Trevor brought up that was because there was all these conspiracies about okay, why did it happen, etc. And that was
Yeah.
one of the most outrageous ones that they had seen.
Okay. Okay. So Trevor just like put it to him and he didn't like deny it.
He was like,
Or
"What?"
something
Because they're just
on a
like,
late night
because I think Trevor was just like, these people obviously don't understand how the AI works. Even if, like, how would you even do that? Like, it's
Yeah,
an
that's
LLM model. It doesn't actually. He's like, OpenAI doesn't make
like a
number one
bad
even.
dream about AI. Yeah. So do
Um,
you think it was Q Star? Do you think Q Star was the thing?
absolutely not. No, no.
And why? Do you have any theories? This is wild speculation time. The
I
vodka's hitting my bloodstream. We're into crazy pants, man.
am. I actually think because AI sentientness, awareness, whatever, is not an actual
Yeah.
interesting technical problems that AI researchers go after. No, as far
Mm.
as I know, most AI, okay, of course, I'm just like randomly, most of them are not philosophical and things about consciousness and awareness and self awareness, etc. For that to be like, oh, let's go solve that problem.
Yeah.
And we have this idea that it's if it gets smart enough, it'll just suddenly become sentient. I'm like, okay, I realize it seems like black magic, but it's code and numbers behind it. It
Yeah.
just happens to be a lot, a lot, a lot, a
Yeah.
lot of it.
It's seeing like the capabilities are expanding so rapidly that I understand if it could direct itself, you know, it's still very hypothetical to me that it would like run amok. But um, the reason this drives me so crazy is specifically in comparison to how people reacted to the Gemini model release, right? So Gemini, multimodal model, Google releases it. They market it a little too close to the sun, like I mentioned, and they're now everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, Google's the devil! What a bunch of idiots! They're a bunch of tryhards," even though their model is technically better, right? During the Sam Altman thing, so when he was fired, I was listening to all the news. Kara Swisher, she's a longtime tech journalist, and she was breaking a lot of the news that was coming out that was reliable news. She has a lot of great contacts. And she had said that there was something that happened at Dev Days, the Dev Days in November, that was like a breaking point for Sam's relationship with the board. That was like everyone had reported something happened at Dev Days. So the main thing that they announced at Dev Days was the custom GPTs, right? That you could build your own custom GPTs using the builder. Oh, the store is coming. We talked about the store in January, but custom GPTs were made available right away. And at the same time, Microsoft had an internal freeze on using the custom GPTs in OpenAI because of security
Oh,
concerns. It came out in
which
the
then
following
it came
weeks. It was
out.
actually
Yep.
exactly, but not broadly, right? Not really broadly at all. It was I'd seen it on LinkedIn posts and things like this where people are like, "Hey, I was just able to steal this big company's data set, like using because of their custom
Right.
GPT. So be careful." But
Yep.
OpenAI is not out there warning this brand new set of non-technical users who don't know about security at all that this is a thing they should be aware of. And immediately they like shut down access to GPT Plus, so they're not getting any more new users for like a month,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They were, and everyone's like, "Oh well, I guess that just happens," and you're like, one company put out like too enthusiastic an ad, and the
Yeah.
other one like literally shut down new user access to this feature that was supposed to be this big deal. And then I think someone just leaked the whole Q Star thing to the press to distract them. Because I was like, if you wanted to distract the press right now, all you have to do is be
Oh,
like,
there we go.
man,
We got
sentient
sentient
thing.
AI. Yeah. Oh, that's true. No,
Anyway, that's my tinfoil hat
I,
discussion for you. I think it was all about, at least in part, about the custom GPTs being released too quickly. That's my thought.
I think it was a power struggle. I think it was the Game of Thrones of OpenAI, and I think they didn't execute it properly.
Back to the throat slashing.
Yeah, exactly. Somehow we can't
Game
get
of
the
Thrones
images
throat
to
slashing.
do Sam Altman throat slashing, and we don't know why. The model, for some reason, just won't do it. Um, that's because when I saw it, I'm just like, oh, it's a power play, which happens all the time. When a company starts small and suddenly blows up, everybody's like, oh my God, there's so much money. You're going to struggle for control, right? And Sam
Yeah.
Altman kind of just looks like a total nerd. I mean, he does. And he
Well,
probably is, right? Yeah. But
he's a big guy, but he's been around, right? He was the head of
yeah.
Techstars, and it's not like he's new, but I also think like the board seemed like there was some pretty early board moves there, like not experienced board member moves, maybe.
Yeah. So
So
my whole take is it's a power struggle, but it's done by total nerds, which is why it's so poorly executed. Over
game of
a
nerds.
total nerd. Yeah. And then they're like, what? No. And they underestimated uh, his his connection to the crowd of nerds. So
Right.
that's a story I'm sticking to.
Back to musicals, which we love. It's like West Side Story, but for nerds.
Yeah. We're like,
He's actually
ooh.
like part of one gang, but he didn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent.
Oh,
Power Bob Merker.
if we finish that analogy, he would have had to show up on Google's side. He'd be like, oh, he went over to the other side. Okay. All right. Okay.
Your fault. I was like, one more of these, and we'll be making up songs for West Side AI
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, exactly. New musical. Great. And that wraps up our favorite segment, BS and
Okay.
AI.
We only have time for one last segment, so it's plugs. So Yuying, what do you want to plug this month?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. You go first.
Okay, on my side, I want to plug, I have a free webinar for product managers. So it's a masterclass about your path to the career in AI product management. It's happening February 7th at 12 to 1 p.m. PST. I do these webinars monthly or every second month for people who are already in the software industry and interested in pivoting into careers in AI leadership. So I hope you can make it. We also have a course on Reforge starting February 19th, which is the introduction to conversational AI, design and build
Is that the one
conversational
I
AI.
took?
Yes, that's the one you took.
All
Any
right.
review? I haven't even
I
asked you
highly
for feedback.
I highly recommend it, and you do got to do the work because otherwise you don't really get the value.
It's very hands-on. It's very hands-on, and you actually get to build or design your own chatbot or Copilot as part of it. But I do the product and tech side, and my excellent co-instructor Rupa Chaturvedi is a senior design leader at Google and Uber, and she does the design part, so design for conversational AI. So check us out on Reforge.
Awesome. I also love Reforge as an organization in general. Um, okay, for
And lastly,
me,
oh
wait,
yeah, you go ahead.
yeah. So
Sorry.
now that I remember, so for me, I have a newsletter that I put out every month just to kind of educate in the business use cases of how to use ChatGPT or BART or some of the other bots to really make your work more efficient. So it's targeted at the business users. So this year, I'm trying a new format. So each week, I actually focus on a specific role. So they're mostly prompts and tips, but it is targeted at specific roles. So like the last one I did was for account managers, and I did one for the L&D team as part of HR. I did one for project managers and go-to-market managers. So you can sign up for it is a Substack newsletter, which of course right now I'm forgetting what I called it. If you
Giving
can
me something.
not the newsletter.
Oh,
But if you so on my LinkedIn, you'll see links to subscribe, and it also my LinkedIn posts every Wednesday the newsletter. So it's aimed at essentially business professionals to help you figure out how to use it to make work better. Because I can't live without it. I don't know how I did work before this, but here's trying to share some of that. So that's
I think it's called, is it just called Yuying Substack?
It could, yeah, I think the Substack is probably Yui Substack. I,
Yuying
as you can
Substack.
tell, I did not have ChatGPT generate me a
That's
newsletter
right. You're like,
title.
that is authentically human,
Yeah,
man. You can
yeah,
tell.
it's so bad it can only be Yuying. All right.
Aw, that's not bad. Last of all, we will always shamelessly plug the show. So don't forget to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and give us 5 stars. And reach out if you have questions you'd like to answer, send them through support at aicareerboost.com. We'd love to hear them. We'd love to answer them on the show. That's it. That's been another episode of AI After Hours, and we will see you next time. Cheers, Ying. Bottoms up.
Cheers. Oh no, no bottom.